Thank you everybody for coming. This is actually quite an exciting day for us, or certainly exciting month, in that when we started the company, which was really 5 years ago, we always had this intention of being a SaaS platform, but what we didn't want to do is get funding, because we wanted to control our own destiny. So part of that was, what the strategy for us was to create our own website design agency and use that to generate cash flow to then go out and build the software. So it's been 5 years with no sleep really, but it was a really valuable process in that. Just over there, thanks James. Yeah, we've just had this habit of working with customers, getting their feedback, and so this platform that you're about to see has been quite organic. In that we've really tried to aim the software at the end business, but also to cater for the designer from day one. So you'll see. So we've done some. There's a lot of marketing people in the room, and recently we've done some of our own sort of content work and branding. And we've really sort of decided on a kind of slogan, which is a website builder for design and a CMS for business. And that's really because when we started out the company, we tried to solve a problem of what most people in this room are probably familiar with. And there's this age-old debate really from the start of the commercial internet, which was this: when you're choosing a design for a client, should you choose open source platform or should you choose proprietary? Now, open source has tended to win out over the years. If we look at the numbers in Australia, we've got two WordPress forums. We've got WordPress.org and WordPress.com, and they're sort of taking about 23% each. So we've got like 40% market share of WordPress here in Australia. So why is that? I mean, is it the perfect platform? Well, not really. It's fraught with troubles. But the reason why it's so popular is because designers who really make that choice, because the business doesn't know, they can really get in there under the hood and do everything that they need to do. So if a client comes back and asks a question, typically, if they're on WordPress, the answer is always yes. But when they hand that over, then it becomes this problem of, is it always this nice user interface? We've got plugins here that we don't know who's created them. What happens if the people that look after those plugins don't do the updates? And it's just like on your phone if you don't do the updates. So and worse than that is that all these plugins doesn't necessarily have the security with it. So often people with WordPress sites tend to get hacked. So it's always been a bit of a problem. And then recently we've had really quite an evolution in the web. There's quite a lot of sort of lower end platforms. You can see here, the Wix, Squarespace, Weebly, these kind of market leaders, really offer the business to get in there with this kind of nice and easy to use visual editor that lets people make changes. But unfortunately, if you're a business, if you're a designer trying to design on those platforms, at some point the client's going to ask you something and the answer is going to be no, right? So then, you should have used WordPress. So that was really the problem we tried to solve. So what MOBLE is kind of more of a, and you'll see some of the things that you can do, but we've tried to create the hybrid of the best of both worlds. And so what I'm going to do initially is go through some of those features. We're just going to race through those. That'll probably take us to, about, if I'm quick enough, about 6:40. And then we'll get into the real juice, which is what we're actually launching. But I think it's good for everybody to have a good look at our sort of visual editor and how MOBLE works. And then we'll move into the new partner stuff and show you how you can sort of start to create your own agency and some of the features and revenue streams that can produce. So what I will do, first of all, is I'll reference back to some of these things as we go. But where I will start is what's happened in the last 6 months with MOBLE. Some people have known us for a while. Certainly, when you're smiling there, when Renee came in last time, we didn't have any base templates, and this was a kind of really oversight of us as a company, because we thought, when we first started out, we thought, oh, well, the editor's that easy to use, people can just build their own things from scratch. And it wasn't really the case. So when we did these round of workshops last year, it was a case of people could build stuff, but man, like most of the time it looked really terrible what people would do. So in the last sort of 6 months, we've built like 40 base designs. And also we've built a little AI tool that now makes onboarding really easy. So you can basically pick a design, drop in a logo. I'm not going to demo this bit tonight, but our systems will have a go at creating that for you. And then in recent weeks, we've just started an integration which allows, if you put in what your business does, it will look at your colour scheme and then go and fetch images from the internet and instantly populate the site for you. So that's coming pretty soon. So literally in about 10 minutes, you'll have a site with unique images, unique styles and fonts and colours based off one of these designs. But as some people will already know, on mobile, with our designs, all of the designs work together. So it's not just like these are separate themes or templates. Like this particular layout from this one could be dragged into this one. And as you drop them onto the page, it'll instantly pick up the styles for that brand. So this is quite a unique thing that doesn't really exist anywhere on other platforms. So that's where we are and that's where we've been, but we're going to extend that with some of the new stuff we're going to show. So let's put that into context. So here's one of these designs, right? So this one is called Phyllis. And if some people are asking what the names come from, well, it's really sort of inspired by 60s reggae artists. So you can kind of guess maybe who some of these people are. Hopefully there's no copyright issue with that, but we'll see how it goes. So, so this is the front end of this initial design. But as I look into the back, you can see here that it really is close to, very, very close to what we call a WYSIWYG editor. And people will always say, you know, that they've got this WYSIWYG editor, but really it doesn't actually look very much on the back end what it looks like on the front. With mobile, everything is responsive right in the editor. So that was one of the important things that, you know, as you're designing, as you're working with it, it's fully responsive. But so, and you can just, you know, type things without really too much fuss, or you can change images and all the things that you would expect to try and make a website look different straight away. So, what we've recently released is a real change in our UI to try and make it a lot simpler. So just as our slogan is a website builder for design, a CMS for business, we tried to incorporate that into the user interface. So now we've got business modes and design modes. So what's the difference? So if you're a designer and you want to create a website for your clients, we'll try and keep them into business mode. And we can even actually start to look at disabling that design mode, so you don't let your clients get that. But when you see some of the other stuff that we do, you might not need to do that. So really it's just point and click. You know, if you want to change an image, you can just click on it. In fact, this one's a widget. I'll come back to that in a second. But if you want to change anything, it really is just point and click. You can just go around, click, change things. But then we've got design mode, and this is key to understand. The people who know CSS or HTML, these are effectively your div blocks. So you've got a true visual representation of the code, and you click a pencil icon, and then you've got all the properties that you can edit in the user interface. Now where this gets different than something like, well, really any platform actually, what we've tried to do is create our own universal CSS classes. So what we do is let's say we have a class that's, I don't know as an example, but let's say we wanted to turn a square into a circle, right? We could just have a class called circle and it'll just take that square and make it into a circle. But we don't have that in the user interface yet. So for front-end developers, we're just about to release a class directory. So if you effectively, you can see some of our classes here that you might be familiar with, but you can effectively just drop classes into this system from our class list. So these are all the classes that we've got that haven't made it into the UI yet. which is just like padding, alignment, whatever it is, animations, whatever you want. So we're just tracking which are the ones that are most popular, and then we release the most popular ones into the UI. So that's how we're keeping them breadth and up to speed. So feel free to ask me more on that later, but I just wanted to throw that in there early. So you can see that if you can pretty much do anything in right here in the editor, but that's okay. But that's where we were kind of a year ago, and what we found is that didn't really help people create websites quickly. So one of the biggest features about mobile is we've got these things called layouts. And where I mentioned earlier that all of these designs and themes, that every layout from every different design can be seen here in the layout store. So as we add more designs, more layouts will naturally start to appear in here. So let's just have a look at that. Let's just go and choose something with a few colours in. Okay, let's just take this here. So you can see here this has got like a mint green and a dark green, but the brand here is sort of a completely different colour scheme. So let's just take this layout and drop it onto the page, and in a second it changes all of the fonts, styles, colours to suit that particular brand. So that's really important to remember when we come onto the partner features later. So let's just go and have another look at that. Let's take this one again. It's sort of this green colour. Drop it in, and then it changes to the colours of this brand. So the question is now, okay, we'll just pause here in the editor, and we'll go and have a look to the styles area. So as graphic designers, most people are sort of graphic designers or marketers in this room. Rather than, the problem is with these kind of platforms, Wix, Squarespace, Rebate, even the ones that are visual editors that are on WordPress, is they've become an absolute nightmare for designers and agencies. And that's because they don't control the CSS. So you might design this beautiful page and it's got the right colours and fonts and things like that, but the moment you hand it over to the client, they can change everything and really start to make a mess of it. And it's not too long before you get a phone call and then you're charging them again just to rebuild what or whatever it is. So just to paint that picture, as I'm sorry that we're racing through this, but you can see here we've created this kind of style sheet in here. This is the CSS menu, but it's very granular. So if you look at here, we've created some what we call accent colours. Well, what are they? Well, as we go into this particular area, click the pencil, you can start to see that these accent colours follow us around. So I could change this green, start to make some gradients or whatever it is. So things that you used to be able to do, the things that you would used to design in Photoshop, you can do it here right in the editor. So why would you bother doing something like that in Photoshop? And that's really one of the sort of founding, you can see here just with buttons again, all those styles that you set are going to follow you around in the editor. What does that mean when you hand it over to the client? They're going to stay on brand. They can't really go too far away. So it's a bit of a dream for designers that's got that control locked in. So when we created the software, that was a real big thing that we wanted to do to solve that problem, and it's just surprising that there's really no other CMS that has that level until you go into the enterprise, where they pretty much build things from scratch each time. So a few things to note there. So So I'll just quickly talk about, so mobile isn't just this, it's not just that, we don't try and position ourselves in this space. Certainly we have sites that can power a lot bigger sites than WordPress as well. And the way I always try and say that, which seems to resonate with people, is that what I say is that if someone showed me the BBC homepage, I could probably build that in half an hour, even though it could be a $200,000 website. And the reason why we do that is that we don't have plugins or these things like photo galleries or blogs or these things. What we've got is a widget, a feed that can pull in anything. So you could, this feed here is, for example, it's pulling in events that are tagged with demo. But what I could do if I wanted to is take, just as an example, I'll take this widget, I'll just drop it into here. Now, you can see here that this is 4 column. Well, that's no good. I'm going to put it into 1 column. And it's got what we call grid view, which is just a tile. I'm going to change that into card view. And you can start to see now that that one widget is pulling in this feed of events into a nice list, right? But if I just said, oh, well, that's okay that it's a list today, but what happens tomorrow if I want that to be a product feed? Because I'm selling something that's related to that particular piece of content. So now I can click here, and that will pull in products, right? So the whole thing is so flexible right in the editor that whatever anyone asks you for, pretty much the answer is always going to be yes. So as I just get my thoughts back on track. So I'll just quickly show you some more things. So because we've got these, so the key thing that I just want you to take from this is we've got these things called layouts. You can drag them in. When you drop them onto the page, it picks up your colours and it's all like this happy world. But the other thing is, so if you've got layouts which you can take and drag and drop in any order from any different website, the possibilities are endless. In fact, we had a go in the editor in these mobile base layouts of trying to create every combination of any kind of layout possible on a 6-grid format. So you can see here anything that you want, even if there's not a layout for, you can go and get it. So because you can build anything with layouts, the only thing that remains on a website, the only thing there is to a website is the header, because it's the only thing that doesn't have a layout. So then what we tried to do is go, okay, well, let's try and build every combination of every header. So when we started to build this, we thought, should we let people build a header configurator so they can build their own headers? But we thought, well, no, because they have to think about that. So let's just put a list of all the header combinations. And let's start to give people the ability to preview those right in here, so you can start to see these interactions of what your header does. And of course, you can animate your headers and things like that right here in the CSS. So typically what happened then when we had this is, and what we realized very early on, is that we were starting to win most jobs that we would go and pitch at. And the reason why we would do that is because as we were driving in the car to pitches, we would build the website. Because what we would do is we'd put their colours into the thing. We've got loads of designs, we'd know their fonts. And so when we went in to do the presentation, we could actually rebuild their website on the fly right in front of them. And so that was, when we say pitches, that we always build websites for pitches. All of our proposals are websites. So when we make a proposal, we pretty much turn it into their website and send it to them with all our words selling to them with their branding. And then in workshops, like it really is true that when people come into one of our workshops, people think they're going into this 6-week project, and after 4 hours it's done. And so that doesn't include their copy, of course, but you know it's got to that point. So, but now we want to take these tools that we've built for ourselves and now share with other designers and agencies, which the segue brings us back to the purpose of today's session. So in that race through, was there any questions there? Okay, so.
Sorry, I've got a question. I'm not sure whether you cover it in a different section.
Sure.
Just sort of, functionality like e-commerce,
Brilliant.
membership,
Yeah.
tiered pricing, like all of that sort of thing.
It's a perfect question, and let's do that in the AMA because I'll be super excited to answer that because we've got a lot of things happening there. So the other thing I'll say about that, like typically that's normally in our presentation. We just tried to wrap that up in 15 minutes at the race course. But one thing we're now doing now we've got this new space is what we call, we've rebranded certain things and we're just calling it Web School, which really its form here in Sydney is that it's meant for anybody, like we're saying at the moment, people can walk in off the street and whatever, but it really is a service for designers, particularly people who are looking to start their own agencies. It's so hard to just create designs, manage the clients, and then you have to manage support and maintenance and whatever. So we're now, because you can get the feeling we do things pretty quickly, so training, getting people on board is quick too. So this particular, this place, it's all about a facility for designers to send in their clients for training. So we talked a bit about WordPress and all of these systems and whatnot, things that can go wrong after you've handed it over. But that's another value, a huge value add of the services that we provide. Often it's really easy from a design perspective to bill or quote accurately based on the known work that you do. But what's invariably impossible is trying to get project management accurate, because you're going to be dealing with all different types of people. It's so easy in web design to run a loss, and so that's a big thing that we're focusing heavily on as a tech company that's here to support you, is handling that project management. So you'll see bits of this now as we're going to sprinkle that in. Okay, so now we're about to start today's session. So what we've done today, we thought the easiest thing to do was just create a demo agency that we've called Equipo. And so consider yourselves in the room to be Equipo. And then, so what I'm going to do is just going over here. So some of you who've had our early look at this before we pulled it back a few weeks ago, is this kind of what we call this partner site. So this is where you go to manage all of your clients, and this extends the platform in quite unique ways, which we're quite excited to show you. So let's just log in to the back end and see what your partner software can look like. And by the way, everyone who's attended tonight can get one of these next week. So we're kind of ready to go on that. So the first thing that any sort of partner network does is let you see your own clients. Nothing new about that. If you're familiar with the better platforms out there, you can pretty much see who all of your clients are, right? Now the key thing is that what you want to do is be able to edit those and under one password, and keep everything nice and neat. It's a huge problem, but not just for individuals. When you're managing a whole team, you need to say, well, Jenny can manage this client, but we might not want her to manage this particular. So we can put permissions around different sites and logins as well. So, Raheem, how are you?
Good. Sorry.
You've missed the best bit, Raheem.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
So we're just into sort of the partner area. We've done a bit of a demo of the CMS. So effectively, this is a list of your clients, and now we can go into to edit that client. So let's just go and have a look at what that looks like. So I'm just going to pick this one here. It's called Shuts Gallery. So if I click in, I'm logged in now as an agency. So hello, whatever. Let's just go into the editor where you'll be familiar. So let's go and have a look at this particular design from the back end. Okay, so WYSIWYG kind of editor, as you've just witnessed. But now when we go to the layout store, something really interesting has happened. So you can see all of these base mobile layouts that we just looked at. And I think just from a consistency point of view, let's just go and find, my phone is struggling down there. Let's just go to that particular one that we just dragged in before. I think it was this one. Let's just go and drag that in, and then bang, you see, it's just, now this is a serif font. Before we had more of a sans font, and it's picked up the color scheme again. So it's the same layout, but different client, and it's changed the branding as soon as you've dropped it onto the page. Cool. Well, that's fine. Mobile does that anyway. But now the difference is that as a designer, what we want, what you would do is you would create your own custom layouts for your own clients. Now, a lot of people have been saying to me, "Oh, that's really good. So should we start charging projects based upon based upon the number of layouts we create?" Because a lot of people have been saying to us, well, since we don't have to do wireframes anymore, because on mobile, the whole editor can be flipped to wireframe mode, and that's fully responsive in the back. So why would you bother creating wireframes for mobile, laptop, desktop? Complete waste of time, and you can just drag in any layout in any column width, flip it into wireframe mode and send them a link, and they're looking at it on whichever device that they're looking at. So that whole process of designing wireframes, doing the visual design, and then sending it off to a developer to do the HTML, it's all redundant. Like, there's just no point in doing it. Sure, I'm not saying as a designer you shouldn't sketch things out, and we use a lot of napkins, but as soon as you're ready, you really should be saving yourself time. And so the key thing that I always say to businesses around that is, designers around that, is they're saying, well, how can you charge X amount when it's only taking you this amount of time? But which is an easy thing to assume, but it's not that you do any less work. It's you spend the client's money in creative work. So you don't have to be doing the wireframe work. You don't have to be doing the HTML side. You can be spending more time in real creative things with that budget. But also when we speak to our clients, what we find is they're just thankful that the project ends really quickly because their time's valuable. And actually, that's a huge thing. If we can say that the project can be finished quickly, people are prepared to spend more for that, not less, which is important to consider. Last year we released a service called Site in a Day, where people can just come in the morning. We have a consultation with them. We build it, including the copy, and then they come in at the end of the day for a training session, and they walk away and they can use the tools. So, but even though it takes a day, the hourly rate appears to be quite high, but that's for the convenience. Like yesterday they didn't have a website, tomorrow they're live. So these are things to think about in terms of how you use this tool to structure pricing and things like that. Right, so we've looked at here these hundreds of mobile layouts, and now we've looked at, as designers, thinking about creating layouts specifically for your customers. And that is huge, because think about the training. Or every layout that's in that particular design, typically they only need about 10 or big size 20 different layouts, and they're not going to mess anything up. Because if they've got a new landing page and it's got a 3-column feature set, they're going to use this layout, so they can just change the images and really sort of change the text and whatever. So they can just do content work, and you're stay in control of the design. So layouts are great for you to build quickly, but man, when you hand those over to the client, it's a game changer. You're just going to have a lot of happy customers. Okay, so then it gets a lot better than that. So you can see here that it says mobile, it says Shuts Gallery, which is the client, and now it says your agency name, Equipo. This one says Equipo Partner Demo, but I wouldn't put Partner Demo after your business name. So what now is, this is every design that your agency has ever built can now be shared with your clients, right? So if you want to share those, so let's say you're now building an IP in the software, because these could be branded with your particular agency branding. So you can throw your name and logo all over these. You can do whatever you like. But the thing is, so where, I think you kind of get that concept, but let's build upon that a little bit more. So where do they come from? So now, as part of your partner kit on mobile, you've seen my websites, which you're familiar with. That's how we go and get access. But now we can start to create your own branded designs. So this becomes the next bit that everyone should really take away from this session. What we've got 2 types of designs, and it's just like anything with terminology. We really want you to understand that we've got these things called private designs and these things called public designs. Well, just to paint the picture very quickly, a public design is something that appears on mobile. So if we work with you, and we're going to come back to public sites in a bit, but there's an opportunity for agencies right now here in Sydney to create these public designs that people all around the world can use, right? So I'm just going to leave that there for now. I'm going to come back to that in about 15 minutes. So that's public designs. That means they appear publicly on the mobile website. So let's go and see what private designs are. Now, private designs are designs that you can build as designers for your own particular agency. So let's imagine that someone comes to you and let's say you charge $5,000-$10,000 for a website, but they've got a $500 budget. But you can have these pre-made websites that you can just sign people up, drop in the logo, and then get the website there and start building them for content separately, or whatever it is that you want to do. You could create an e-commerce one, which really Shopify is just one big theme. You know, that's why all the Shopify sites tend to look the same. But with mobile, as you know, there's no limit to how products could lay out. You could run products on the left, a big video. That video could change into a slider. It could run a video and then move into images, and then even a gallery, all within the one space. So because there's no limitations on what a design can look like very quickly. This gives designers this opportunity to create their own private designs. So that you can allow your clients to see or not. It just means that you can start to build very good websites that are, you know, your particular padding and alignment that you kind of like, that's your signature, or whatever it is. You can use these as a base to build out from very quickly. And so what that does, it now means your margins in design are ridiculously high, which unless you use that budget to be creative and do other things, right? But this is where we're up to at the moment, and this makes it why go and use other people's themes. A lot of when we go and see agencies at the moment, the way that they're handling the WordPress maintenance issue is that they've pretty much chosen 3 themes that they like. They know all of the plugins that they like, and they just use the same ones again and again and again, right? And that's what they do because they know that if they need to stay profitable, and if they skew away from that, it's high risk, and they're more than likely going to run a loss while they learn the lessons. So this solves all of those problems and then some. So let's just take this into, so here we've got 6 private designs. And so these, if I just wanted to go and create a new website from scratch, you can see what happens here. Let's go and have a look at this. So I can go here, I can create a new private design or a new public design. I think we might work on the UI here, just make it that one button and work it out. But so here, I am now just about to create a new website. And you can see it just pulls up my private design straight away. So I can create my own base, which is what we do. Like, we've always done this as an agency. And people that just, you know, ask me, like, if I speak to someone in the morning, I can speak to them in the afternoon and just show off a little bit. But all I'm doing, I've got loads of things that I like to use that are my style, which might be different than Danny's or anybody else's, but I know that's how I like to work. So, and then it's just the normal onboarding process, as opposed to the public designs when a client goes to sign up. Let's say, you know, let's take this particular design. Let's say, so you know, it talks a bit about the design and what it does. But if I go to sign up now with this particular design, you can see I go into the onboarding process. I can swap and change here, but these are just all the public designs. So we've really taken that technology that you might be familiar with when you create the designs on mobile, but only you can see this. Nobody else can see it. So, but then of those layouts, you can, if we go back to Esmeralda, let's go and have a look at her business again. So now I'm logged in as Esmeralda, looking at her own website. But in this case now, you've allowed Esmeralda to see these layouts. So when you're designing, you can say, okay, well, mobile have got like 1,000 layouts that you can drag and drop. We've created these custom ones for you, but as well, we know you're going to go into e-commerce or whatever in the future. We're going to let you see these ones too. But these now can be your branding ones. So let's just take this one, Whaler, which is a big image. The image won't change, but you see the styling has changed, the accent lines. But if so now, you know, let's just flip that into one of those, bang, and straight away, you've just got a new landing page with a form. I won't talk about forms, but this has got a form builder, drag and drop form builder, you know, as you'd expect, payments, blah, blah, blah. So we've talked very quickly there about public and private designs. I would imagine when we have the Ask Me Anything in a second, a lot of the conversations will be around these sort of private designs and what you can do with those. So, but with that said, does it make sense so far? Okay, good. So, let's talk about public designs. So, it's cool actually that there's quite a few people in marketing here tonight, which you probably can share a little bit about our pain, in the sense that building a content management system is not for the faint-hearted, maybe only for the foolish, I would say. When there's existing platforms out there, and then how do you get market share when there's already a network effect created with going into an agency and saying, hey, use our system, and they'll be saying, no, we've got our processes down. So you have to be good in that sense. But still, even if they like the software, they're not even going to do it. So we had to come up with something better than the software itself that would allow us to get our own piece of the pie, market share. So we thought a lot about business models and how we could do a disruptive business model which really would change the game. So I'll just talk about what everyone will be familiar with. What a great company, Envato, here in Australia, based out in Melbourne. They have big sites like Theme Forest, Code Canyon, which if you're going to create a WordPress site, you pretty much will go to Envato or Theme Forest, pick a theme, whatever it costs, $35, $60, and you can install that onto WordPress in a click, and you've got a WordPress website. That's Envato, a big reason why WordPress has got the market share. But if you're a designer creating that theme, as they're called, then what Envato does in their business model, they will give you, I think whatever it is, maybe 40-50%, but they give you that once. Because they don't own WordPress, they don't own the CMS, they don't own the hosting or anything like that. They've just created a design. So that's really interesting, because on mobile, all of the public designs are free, right? So I'm using my eyesight here. Let's get back to mobile. Closed it down. But yeah, so you know the public design page, obviously. Let me just go back here. But all of the designs on mobile are absolutely free. So that means anyone in the world could come and just take one of your public designs and use it for free. They wouldn't have to spend the $35 or $60 that you have to spend on Envato. But as a designer, so right now I think it's been going for so long, and I think it's so exciting when you look at some of the numbers, some of those early adopters that create those initial themes for that one website design, even though they've kept on improving it over the years, it's into almost, it might be over $1 million now just from one website. But that's okay, but that's because every time someone spends that $35, $60, they're giving them half of it once. But that doesn't really compound, because you only get paid once for that user in the entirety. So what we thought is, well, because we're the platform, people pay us hosting, and you get the maintenance, there's no bugs on our platform, no hacks, everything just works, and if there is a bug, pretty much everyone else has got it and fix it, and it's done in seconds. So the community works together in that particular way. But we just thought, let's just shake this up and give designers and creatives a share in our platform fee. So so you don't get paid once for that client. You get paid every single month. So for example, our average platform fee at the moment is $38. People start off free. If they like it, they go up to $9 very quickly. And then there's so many features in there that we have a steep curve which takes you straight up to $49. But at that point we know that they've already onboarded, they see the tools, they understand what layouts are, and they don't want to go anywhere else. They see the value in that. And so we don't get any objections on price, because for generally a business that's actually for quite cheap. So so our average platform fee is $38, which is great, because you'd be getting 40% of that for every client every single month for the history of their website. So think people like Warren Buffett, you hear them, they're going on about compounding revenue, and that's exactly what this is. So let's look at the maths. So let's say your public design on mobile got 1,000 users. Typically, you would normally get paid 50% of $50, and that's it. It's done. You'd have to onboard new users all the time. But let's say you didn't get any more users, and you just maintained whatever you needed to do, or just sat on the beach, whatever you cared to do. And then what would happen? So 1,000 times 38, your 40% commission gives you $15,000. But not just once, every single month, forever. So that would then accumulate or compound in accounting terms to 180 grand a year for one design. And that's pretty good. So that's what a public design is. So from our perspective, what does it mean? Well, we want to get hundreds of these public designs. In the last few months, we've just created these as a bit of a showcase. But the next step is that when we get sort of adoption from designers, we're going to turn this into a bit of a social network, so that you can generate not just the compounding revenue, but you can use it to generate leads. So if you do a public design on our platform, you can see it says a bit about the credits for that particular designer. And we've already got because we build lots of directories, social networks, so we've actually got a directory and social network product as part of our platform, but that's not available generically at this stage. So pretty much it's kind of ready to go. As soon as you've got your agency, you can put an agency profile, people can click here and feature your agency. So if you do have a public design, that means you get all the upsell work too from that particular design. And how do we know that you're going to do that? So you'll see, where's, I'm getting confused here. Where's little Esmeralda gone? Let's get back to here. So you can see when Esmeralda logs in, it's not branded with mobile. Of course, they know it's mobile because they're getting all the mobile help and support, emails, courses, everything that we're working with you as a partner. But we brand this with you as soon as they log in. But because you can control this page just like any other page on the system, you can put in forms in here. You can put in a news feed. You can put in whatever you want to communicate with your clients from public designs. And that's interesting. If you've got 1,000 people, that's a good source of leads. So that's kind of another sort of unique feature, again, that doesn't exist, which the power of... now, from a revenue perspective, I missed one thing there. From a revenue perspective, you get 40%, not just for the public designs, but you get 40% for all of your private designs too. Right? So that's really, everything that you ever create, we say, I don't know if it works or not, but we've been saying, because we don't have any investors or whatever, that you are kind of our investors, and you've pretty much got a stake in the company at this moment. And every single month, on the 18th of every month, we pay out those commissions. So just before we move on, let me just, racing around, I'm kind of losing track of where I am. So let's just get back into here and let's have a look at what this actually means. So of course, you can log in at any time and see your particular pay as it's coming in. So at this moment, we've got, you can see here the monthly fee that they're paying, of that what your cut is, or whatever wording we use for that, and what you're going to get paid this month. So when you sign up, we must get your BSB and account number if you're in Australia. your BSB and account number, and then that's it. That's all you need to do. If you've got a site, you're going to get paid those commissions when we do the payouts on the 18th of every month, so pretty much be in your account on the 20th. So that's a bit of a look around the new partner user interface. We've looked at websites where you can create, log in, access your websites. We looked at designs where you can go and create private designs. But I have to say on the public designs from a platform perspective have to be approved. You can't just create a public design and expect it to go live. Many reasons for that. The biggest one is around copyright. We don't want someone just going to copy a well-performing website and then doing a better job at marketing. Even though we would get paid more for that, there's a certain level of integrity that we want to control that, be a bit of a coordinator with it initially, so that we can vet that. We haven't actually thought of any kind of tech coding solution that can stop that. And indeed, that's what design is. We're always inspired by other things and copy what we like. We don't want to. We want to keep the quality high, number one, and protect the people who've already put in work, and always encourage new creative. So if you are interested in doing a public design, that's one of the roll calls that we're doing this July, going out there, speaking to as many designers as we can to try and get as many of these public designs as possible. And what I say to people, everyone's busy and they say, oh, well, have I got a public design? It's going to take me ages. I need to research generic stuff. One thing I'm saying at the moment, which is seeming to resonate, is if you're a designer and you've designed websites before, it's sort of a saying that we often say, that you always need to do two designs, and that's one design which is the first beautiful one that you create and present to the client, and then the other one that ends up on the internet after their revisions and they've got hold of it. So you probably have in your portfolio right now got a lot of designs that you've been really proud of, that could be good generic designs. So that's what I'm really interested in. Yeah, sure, think about a generic design that you can create. Speak to me about it, because at the moment you have to come through myself and Danny to apply for that. But the beautiful thing about it is we do all the initial setup for you, because a website's got to tick all the boxes. We need a checkout page, category page, 404 page. So all we're asking for you is, if you just design the home page, maybe whatever you want, it could be an event page or whatever, and we will use that to show you how we develop it, which is basically you send it over, we start the recording, build it from scratch, send you back the video, and you'll pretty much see how we've done it from scratch. So that's only available at the moment in Sydney to Sydney designers. So it's a good opportunity to be kind of an early adopter in this platform as we take it out to the world. So we've talked about public and private designs. There's one last little thing that I just want to squeeze in before we can have a break, and that is, what is it? It's, oh yeah, bounty. So one of the things that we're doing as in our own marketing strategy. So as you've seen here, that people who do public designs, often we're looking for people, which is just good designs, but it actually helps if we go out to good designers who've got big followings, because that brings more people onto the platform. If they share more, someone might like your design. So it's a case of like marketing with everyone marketing together to get the platform running and ticking. But as well as that, there's a lot of people who, so we've talked about royalty payment, which you get a royalty payment for public designs. But then we're also looking for what we're calling bounty hunters. So you can have a bounty code, and actually for Equipo, their bounty code is just Equipo. So that means, just like any affiliate program that you'd be used to, you can, when people sign up on the mobile front end website, there's now, you'll just see there's a bounty code. If someone puts that in, you now get 10%, because they might not be using your public design, they might be using somebody else's. So you could just say, you know what, I didn't really want to work with you because it just wasn't right. Here, just take this bounty code and go and use something else. But what we're doing, looking at going to all of the people who've got huge YouTube and Twitter followings, and getting them to use this as a way that we can push out the platform as we go. So by virtue of being a partner and having a partner platform, you also get a bounty code, which you can use as you see fit. Now, it's just one caveat, and this comes down to code more than it does principle. Hopefully it doesn't sound stingy, but you can't use a bounty code and a royalty code together to get 50%. But we do lose 50% as standard, because if there's a bounty and then that's 50. But we just haven't been able to get it in the code to do both things. So there's no point using a bounty code on your site. In fact, we know who you are when you create a site, so you don't even need to enter a code. You just create a site and we know it's you and you get paid. And then just a final plug of WebScore. This is available now for you'll just send your clients in and we'll educate and train them. All those annoying questions that you get, there's now a training center here that you can just send people along, so you can carry on designing and let all of the worries happen in the training center, knowing you've got that security that you always keep yourself, always keep that with the client. Right, that's it. Any questions? Didn't get a round of applause this morning. So I know that was pretty intense, just racing through. I think, like I say, this morning was pretty daunting, thinking how we're going to get through that in an hour. But this morning, people didn't leave till 9:30 because there were so many questions. But what I would do is just use the time to go to the bathroom, charge your glasses, have a bit of a chat, think about any questions. And then we'll just spend half an hour, because you'll find that you've probably got the same concerns and questions now as everybody else. And the questions that people ask are normally better than the presentation, I think. So yeah, if you want to get some drinks and some pizza, and then we'll reconvene in about 5-10 minutes.